Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today we are speaking about the future tenses. This is the final part of our series of lessons on the grammatical tenses of the English language. Without further ado, let us start. In the future, we have 4 different tenses. The future simple tense, which helps us say something like this: I will read a lot in summer. The future progressive tense, I will be reading while waiting for you tomorrow. The future perfect tense, I will have read that book by the end of the month. And the future perfect progressive tense, when you return, I will have read chapter 10. All of these tenses speak of the future, but each of them expresses a different quality of the action in the future. You remember we divide the timeline into 3 sections or into 3 rooms. In our first lesson on the grammatical tenses, we spoke about the present tenses. The present simple, the present perfect progressive, the present progressive, and the present perfect. In the previous lesson, we spoke about the past tenses. The past simple, the past progressive, the past perfect, and the past perfect progressive. Today, we'll be speaking about the future tenses. That is the future simple, the future progressive, the future perfect progressive, and the future perfect. The future simple tense will help us speak about things that will happen one day. The future perfect will help us express things which will have been finished by a particular moment in the future. The future perfect progressive tense will help us express things which will have been going on for a while by a particular moment in the future, and the future progressive will help us speak of things that will be going on at a particular moment in the future. This is where we are today, in the future. So the future simple tense is formed with the help of the auxiliary verb will, and the main verb is in the first form. Let's look at some examples. I will come to live by the sea one day. He will eventually pass the exam. You will not or you won't stay there for too long. They will not or they won't serve that dish anymore. Will she be back anytime soon? I hope she will. Will they ever stop bullying him? I'm afraid she won't. I'm afraid they won't. How do we know that we need to use the future simple tense? Well, we use the future simple tense to express a future action. It's a simple tense or indefinite tense. So the actions and things that it expresses are indefinite, undecided. And the future that we are talking here about is somewhat hazy, undetermined. The markers of the future simple tense are tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, next, month, week, year, century, soon, in, a week, one day, and when plus a present tense. We'll speak about this particular one a little bit later. The future simple tense is used when we decided to do something spontaneously, without making any previous decisions or arrangements. When we offer a promise to do something, when we ask somebody to do something, when we express our hopes, expectations, and beliefs, when we are not sure whether an action will be performed. Remember this: undecided things, things that maybe will happen in the future. Also, please note that the future simple tense is not used when we speak about a pre-planned action in the future. The present simple, the present progressive, or to be, going to are used instead. Let's look at some more examples of the future simple tense. I will probably be late tonight. This is not something that I can know for sure. They say they'll go to Italy next summer. Who knows what happens? When I'm retired, I won't have to live downtown anymore. It's a distant future, so who knows? I won't tell anyone what's happened, I promise. As we have just seen, the future simple tense is used to express promises because promises are usually something that you give spontaneously, right? What would you like to drink? I'll have a glass of wine, please. It's a spontaneous decision. Will you please switch off the TV? I can't concentrate. It's a modal use of will here, so we ask somebody to do something for us. Jane called you when you were out. Great, I'll call her back now. A spontaneous decision. I can give you a lift. That's okay, I'll take a taxi, thank you. That's a spontaneous decision too. One day people will be able to travel to other galaxies in a very, very distant future. I hope the weather will be better next week. Of course, I'm not sure, I can't know that for sure. When we speak about the future, we speak about things that we either plan to do, or we want to have, or things we think will happen, or this might be some schedules and arrangements that we have for some future dates. So we have 4 different ways to speak about the future. Let's see. We can speak in the future simple, in the present progressive, in the present simple tenses, or with the help of the structure to be going to. To be going to is a periphrastic model, and I've recorded a separate video about the periphrastic models of the English language. Please follow the link down below if you're interested. Today we'll compare the structure to other ways we can speak about the future. So with the help of the future simple, we can say next week the weather will be sunnier. In weather forecasts, we normally speak in the future simple tense because it's next to impossible to predict the weather conditions for several weeks, right? I'll visit them at the weekend if I have time. We speak about a situation that maybe will take place in the future on a particular condition. Let's look at what the present progressive can help us express. We are celebrating our 25th anniversary next week. That's a plan, and we have to arrange a lot of things. We have to rent a place or to book a table in a restaurant. We have to invite guests, so a lot of things are to be done. So this is a pre-planned action in the future. That's why we cannot use the future simple. We need a different tense to express something which is arranged. I'm leaving for London tomorrow at 5. Again, it's not a hazy, distant future. This is something that I am doing tomorrow. I have already bought a ticket. So that's my plan. I have arranged it already. The present simple tense, as you already know, helps us express things that are fixed, like schedules of transport or dates of people's birthdays, anniversaries, things like that, things that are difficult or impossible to change. The train leaves at 5 p.m. tomorrow, and his birthday is next Friday. We don't say his birthday will be, that's ridiculous. His birthday is next Friday. And to be going to, we can use to say something like, I'm going to go to the mall today, or look at these clouds, it's going to rain. In the first case, we express our intention. This is something that I have thought about and I'm planning to do that, but I haven't arranged that yet. It's what I told to myself. I'm going to go to the mall today. And chances are that I will. And the second sentence, look at these clouds, it's going to rain, expresses a prediction. I see these clouds in the sky and I can predict that it's going to rain. Thus, to be going to do something is used to express what we intend to do in the nearest future and to express a prediction about the nearest future we're sure of, like with those clouds, yeah? I'm going to see a film tonight means I want to see a film tonight, I intend to see a film tonight. There are dark clouds in the sky, it's going to rain. It is about to rain because there are rain clouds. Please pay attention to these 2 sentences. I'm going to the supermarket and I'm going to go to the supermarket. I'm going to the supermarket. Here, your main verb is to go, and this is the present progressive tense. I'm going to go. You have to be going to plus the verb to go. To be going to expresses your intention. It's a periphrastic modal, and to go is the main verb. Never forget about it. When not to use the future simple tense? I will let you know as soon as I make a decision. In this sentence, we have a subordinate clause. It's an adverbial clause of time. And in this type of clauses, we cannot use any future tense. Neither the future simple, nor the future perfect, nor the future progressive. What we have to use is a corresponding present tense. So, for example, if your action is of the simple aspect, instead of the future simple, you will use the present simple tense. The same situation we have in conditional sentences, in conditional clauses. So, after adverbial expressions of time and condition in adverbial and conditional clauses, as soon as long as, if, unless, on condition that, provided, in case, after, by the time, the moment, until, till, when, present, not future, tenses are used. Let's look at some examples. As soon as I've finished with this letter, I'll help you. As soon as we've saved enough money, we'll buy a new car. When they arrive, I'll inform you. He will wait until they send for him. I'll lend you my textbook if you promise to return it by Friday. So here it is, this adverbial subordinate clause. As soon as I have finished. So we use the present perfect tense, not the future perfect. This is also an adverbial subordinate clause, so we use the present perfect instead of the future perfect. When they arrive, another adverbial subordinate clause, so we use the present simple tense instead of the future simple tense. Until they send for him, it's also an adverbial subordinate clause, so we use the present simple instead of the future simple. Just remember that, because in your native language, it might be different. You might use future tenses in both parts of such sentences. But in English, you have to remember that in adverbial subordinate clauses and in conditional subordinate clauses, we don't use future tenses. The last one is a conditional clause. If you promise, so the present simple is used instead of the future simple. Let's now look at this sentence. I have no idea when they will arrive. Why do we use the future tense after when here? Well, because it's not an adverbial and not a conditional subordinate clause. Please remember that when and if may introduce an object or attributive clause, answering the question what. It is the case with our sentence, I have no idea when they will arrive. I don't know what. I don't know when they will arrive. Let's look at some other examples. I don't know if he'll agree to join us. I don't know what. He doesn't know when she will come to see him. He doesn't know what. The engineers can't tell yet when the system will start again. They can't tell what. It's interesting when the construction will be finished. What is interesting? Keep in mind this difference and don't forget about the rules that we have just learned. Now, you sometimes might see shall used in the future simple tense. So what is the difference? When do we use will and when do we use shall? I will call you tomorrow or I shall call you tomorrow. No difference. We will be in Porto next summer. We shall be in Porto next summer. The same. These are two equal sentences. There is no difference because in both of these situations, will and shall are used as auxiliary verbs of the future simple tense. As such, they can only be used with the first person singular and plural, that is with I and we. But apart from being auxiliary verbs for the future, will and shall can be used as modals with all persons, singular and plural, in some other ways. Let's see. Shall is used to express an offer, a suggestion, or something that seems inevitable. Shall I get you a cup of tea? That's an offer. Shall we go for a walk in the afternoon? That's a suggestion. He shall become our next president. It's something that seems to be inevitable. Will can be used to express requests. We can ask for something with the help of will, and we can invite people to do something. Will you open the door for me, please? Post this letter for me, will you? Both sentences are requests. So, in these two sets of examples at the bottom of the page, both shall and will are used as modal verbs. You can learn more about these two modals in two corresponding videos, the links to which you can find below. Let's proceed. Now, with the help of these examples, let's compare the future simple tense with other ways of expressing the future. Next Thursday, he will return from a business trip. A single action in the future. When she comes, I will apologize to her for what I said yesterday. That's what I will probably do when she comes. What time does the lecture begin? Why do we use the present simple, not the future simple here? Because we speak about a schedule. This is something fixed. Lectures start on particular days at particular hours. Tomorrow is Jane's birthday. We can't change that. It's a fact. It's not a thing from the future. The shops here open at 7 and close at 5. Again, that's a schedule. I see there are no train tickets for Budapest, so I'll fly. A spontaneous decision. We are going to some thrift shops tomorrow. Would you like to come with us? We are going, the present progressive tense. We have discussed that together and we have arranged that. So this action is pre-planned. Look at him. He's going to fall down. A prediction that we can make based on what we see in front of our eyes now. We don't have any milk left. I'll go and buy some in a minute. A spontaneous decision one makes when he or she gets to know that there is no milk left. What are you doing tonight? What are your plans for tonight? The present continuous or the present progressive is used to speak about something which is pre-planned. I'm having an English class tonight. I think they won't deliver your order before Christmas. It's my opinion. I think they will not, but maybe they will. Who knows? Will you open this can for me, please? It's a modal use of will. It's a request. Now let's do a little exercise together, and again, I suggest that you write the sentences down and only then return to the video and check them with me. I presume that you have already done that, so let's check. Visit us next spring. You won't recognize the place. I think you will not. That's my opinion. When summer comes, I will have plenty of time to read. I think so. It's my opinion about the future. What time does the webinar start? A schedule. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's a fact that we cannot change, so we use the present simple, not the future simple tense here. I am going to go to that new bistro for lunch. Are you with me? That's my intention for the nearest future. I'm afraid no black t-shirts are left. It's okay. I will take a brown one. A spontaneous decision. I am having my first yoga class tomorrow at 10. It's a pre-planned action. It's something that I have already arranged for tomorrow. So we use the present progressive tense. What are you doing at the weekend? What are your plans again? We're asking about somebody's plans. So we are doing that in the present progressive tense. And the answer is in the future simple here because the person guesses. He or she doesn't know for sure. I guess I will stay at home. Shall we invite some of our college friends too? Why not? Shall we? It's a modal use of shall and it's a suggestion. Will you send this letter for me, please? Will you? It's a request. Again, it's a modal use of will. We have discussed the future simple tense and compare it to some other tenses that we have already studied in our previous lessons. Now we know the difference between using the present progressive tense or the present simple instead of the future simple when we speak about something that is yet to come, and we know how to use the structure to be going to because I have already spoken about it in a separate lesson dedicated to periphrastic models. Now let's talk about the remaining three tenses we haven't discussed yet, and we'll continue with the future progressive tense. So the future progressive tense is formed with the help of the auxiliary verb will, be, and the main verb with the ending ing. I will be working at 6 p.m. tomorrow. When she arrives, he will still be working. They won't be working on Sunday afternoon. And will you be working tomorrow from 1 till 3 p.m.? What is common for all of these sentences? In each of them, the future progressive is used because we speak about a definite moment of time in the future or a definite period of time in the future. So when do we use the future progressive tense, or how do we know that we must use this particular tense? The future progressive tense is used to express an action that will be going on at a definite moment of time in the future. Just like the present progressive tense or the past progressive tense, but in the future. The markers of the future progressive tense are tomorrow, tomorrow at 5 p.m., the whole day tomorrow, at this time tomorrow, for 3 days next week, when plus a present tense. So the future progressive tense is used to express an action going on at a particular moment of time in the future, an action which is sure to take place, often independently of the will of the speaker, a future action which is already planned and arranged for a future date, and in very formal requests. Let's see the examples. He will be working the whole day tomorrow. The whole day tomorrow, it's a period of time, a definite period of time in the future, and an action in progress. Will be staying at Hilton for 3 nights next week. The same. Please don't phone between 6 and 7. We'll be having dinner. Another process in a definite period of time in the future. I feel we will be having the same conversation again. Here, the moment in the future is not specified, but it's not a fact that I want to mention, but a process. That's why I use the future progressive tense, not the future simple. I think we'll be conversing about it. I think we'll be having this conversation again. You feel the sentence tells us that the conversation is not very pleasant, right? Do you think you'll be doing the same job in 10 years' time? Again, what we want to stress here is a process. Don't call for me at 7. I will be having a bath. At a particular time in the future, this process will be going on. When I get home, my cat will be sitting at the door waiting for me. Again, when I get home specifies a particular moment in the future. And at this particular moment in the future, my cat will be sitting at the door waiting for me. Will you be wanting anything else, madam? It's a very polite question. Will you be wanting something else? Would you like something else, right? It's almost autumn now. Soon the leaves will be falling. The leaves will be falling is a process in the future. We must not be late, they will be worrying the same. So you see, in many of these sentences, we don't have a specific time mentioned, like at 6 o'clock tomorrow or from 6 till 7. We might be speaking about a process in general, something that will be continuing in the future. We might want to do that with two purposes. First, to be more polite and less strict. Second, to be less precise, to show something stretched in time. I will remind you again that after adverbial expressions of time and condition, in adverbial and conditional clauses, with expressions as soon as, if, unless, until, when, etc., present, not future tenses are used. So The future progressive tense is not an exception. If an action happens during a process expressed by the future progressive tense, when plus the present simple tense is used to express that action. Let's see. When I come home tonight, my cat will be sitting at the door waiting for me. When we land in Bangkok, it will be raining. We use the present simple in these sentences as a marker, as something that defines a particular moment, so that the use of the future progressive in the other part of the sentence is justified. Let's look at these. It will be raining for a while in the future, and at one of those moments we will land. It's the same as to say, at 6 o'clock tomorrow it will be raining. Let's now juxtapose or compare the combination of the past continuous tense plus the past simple tense and the future continuous or progressive tense and the future simple. In the past, it was raining, and at one of those moments we landed. We landed when it was raining. It was raining when we landed. A similar situation is in the future. It will be raining when we land. When we land, it will be raining. The only difference that you have spotted is that we don't use the future simple. Why? Because it's an adverbial clause of time. We use the present simple when we land, not when we will land, right? The next tense we'll be talking about today is the future perfect tense. It's a very useful tense for business communication, especially for written communication. If you want to be precise about something that will happen in the future or has to happen in the future, this is a tense that you might want to use. We form the future perfect tense with the help of the auxiliary verbs will and have, and the main verb in the third form or with the ending ed. I will have left for New York by then. She won't have done her work by 5 p.m. Will you have finished writing your book before Christmas? What do the sentences have in common? They all express actions that will have been finished by a particular moment in the future. When do we use the future perfect tense? We use it to express an action which will be completed before a definite moment in the future. Thus, the markers for this tense are those which help us specify that particular moment. By this time tomorrow, by next week, by 2050, and when plus a present tense. Again, you see, the last marker is the same as for the previous two tenses. Yes, so again, we can use a present tense in an adverbial clause of time to specify a moment by which something will have been completed in the future. Let's look at some examples. Come back about 4 p.m. I'll have finished my work by then and will take a walk. He won't have learned the poem by Friday if he hasn't begun to learn it yet. This work is so arduous that I won't have completed it by the end of the year. If he returns after the 1st of June, I won't see him, since I will have already left for Rome by then. Will she still be staying at the hotel next Sunday? No, she will have moved out by then. By next year, I will have lived on my own for nearly a decade. With the way she's spending money, she will have gone through her savings in less than a month. Will you have read the book by the end of the week? I'm sure he'll have learned to speak Italian before he goes on his vacation to Sicily next summer. They will have carpeted the hall by the end of their shift. In all of these examples, a particular moment in the future is specified, and by that moment, that is, before that moment arrives, these actions will have been completed. Future perfect and predictions of past actions. What? Bear with me, I'll explain. The future perfect is also used for a present prediction of something that we believe has already happened in the past. In such cases, we normally include expressions related to the present time rather than the future. Examples will make this clearer. Let's see. She will have left the dentist's by now. It's my present prediction about something that I believe has already happened. I believe she has already left the dentist, so I say, she will have left the dentist by now. It's a speculation. At this stage, they will have already assembled a team. The same, I believe they already have a team now. By now, she will have taken a maternity leave. I believe she has already left. She has already taken it and she has already left. Yeah. Let's juxtapose the future perfect tense and the past perfect tense. They are actually very similar, but the latter speaks about the past period of time, whereas the former speaks about something which is yet to come. In the past, we say, she had got my letter before I arrived last Tuesday. The past perfect plus the past simple tense. So we have two actions in the past. She had got my letter and then I arrived last Tuesday. She had got my letter happened first. In the future, she will have got my letter before I arrive next Tuesday. The future perfect and the present simple tense. Both things are yet to happen in the future. She will have got my letter before I arrive next Tuesday. First, there will be a letter and then my arrival. Both the future perfect and the past perfect help us express things that happen before other things, in the past and in the future correspondingly. The last tense we'll discuss in our series about the 12 grammatical tenses of the English language is the future perfect progressive tense. You need 3 auxiliary verbs to form this tense, and it is not that often used in everyday communication. But no, you cannot do without it. You have to learn this tense because it might be very useful when you need to express things precisely. When you need to express processes that will be going on at a particular moment of time in the future and will have been finished by a particular moment. You won't have a lot of situations in life when you need to be that precise, but it's a useful instrument that exists in the language, and we don't want to miss it. So let's take a closer look. We form the future perfect progressive with the help of will, have, been, and the main verb with the ending ing. By 11 o'clock, I will have been waiting for 2 hours. By the end of the month, they won't have been living here for a year. And when he retires next year, will he have been working for the company for at least 20 years? When do we use the future perfect progressive? We use it to express an action which will begin before a definite moment in the future, will continue up to that moment, and will be going on at that moment. That's why we typically have 2 markers in the future perfect continuous. One that expresses duration and another one that specifies a moment in time. Adverbs of duration are for an hour, for days, for a week, for a month, and so on and so forth. And adverbs of time are by this time tomorrow, by next week, by 2050, when plus a present tense or before plus a present tense. Let's look at some examples with these markers. We will have been working on the book for a month when you visit us in July. By the end of December, I will have been renting this apartment for 3 years. By the time I get to the office, they will have been waiting for me for an hour. He'll have been studying German for 4 years by the time he graduates. They will have been married for 10 years next month. How long will you have been living in Texas by the end of the year? I don't think we need to buy a new sofa now. We won't have been living here for very long before we move to our own house. You see, in all of the sentences we use 2 types of markers for the use of the future perfect progressive to be justified. Should we use the future perfect or the future perfect progressive? I will have painted the living room by 6 p.m. It's a complete result. The living room will be fully painted by a particular moment in the future, in our case by 6 p.m. By 6 p.m. I will have been painting for 3 hours. We don't have a complete result here. It's a partial result. The painting will still be going on at that moment. She will have read the whole series by November. A complete result, all the books in the series will be read. She will have been reading the series for half a year by November. A partial result, only some of the books will be read. Others will be read later. We will have lived here for a year by March. It's a landmark. We will have lived this year here. We will have been living here for a year in March. It's an ongoing process. In March, it will have been a year of our living here, and we still will be living here in March and in April, and we'll continue living here. This is the difference. Now, should we use the future perfect progressive or the future progressive? Let's see. By next June, I will be living in my own apartment. That's the future progressive tense. That's what I will be doing in the future. By next June, I will have been living in this apartment for 5 years. That's the future perfect progressive. And what I want to say here is that I have already been living for a long while before next June comes. Though you see, the adverb of time is the same in both cases. The things that the speaker wants to express are absolutely different. The first sentence only speaks about this particular moment, next June. The second sentence tells us about the preceding period of time. Pay attention to the timeline here. We are now here. It's June now. We say next June or by next June. At this moment on the timeline, we will be living in our own apartment. All that we are interested in here with this future progressive tense is only this moment. If we say, I will have been living in my own apartment for 5 years by next June, what we are interested in and what we want to convey is that all this time, all these years that precede this moment in the future, we will have been living in this apartment of ours. So these two sentences express absolutely different ideas. The first speaks only about this particular moment. It tells us what will be going on next June. Next June, I will be living in my apartment. Okay. The second sentence tells us that we have already been living here for a while and we will continue living here, and by next June we will have been living here for 5 years. So the second sentence gives your interlocutor much more information than the first one. Traditionally, we'll finish with a little exercise. We need to choose a proper future form. At this time tomorrow, we will be flying over the Atlantic Ocean. Why? Because we are talking about a particular moment of time in the future. I will have more free time in September because the children will have gone to school by then. I will have, I think so, probably, because the children by then, by September, that is by a particular moment in time in the future, will have already gone to school. By the end of this month, we will have been living in Romania for 2 years. We have by the end of this month, which specifies a particular moment of time in the future. And for 2 years, that's an adverb that shows us duration. The action will have been going on for 2 years by that particular moment in the future. I already have some plans for the weekend. I am seeing my friend Harry on Saturday. I'm seeing my friend Harry. We have already discussed this meeting with Harry. How are you getting to the station tomorrow? I don't know. I will probably order a taxi. A person asks about somebody's plan. Yeah, what is your plan? How are you getting to the station tomorrow. And another person answers, I will probably order. He or she doesn't know yet. Probably he or she will order a taxi. That's why the future simple is used here. I am borrowing Anne's sleeping bag. She's already agreed to lend it to me. I am borrowing because she has already agreed. That has already been arranged. Does the show start at 7 p.m.? I'm not sure. I will check. Does the show start at 7 p.m.? We'll speak about a schedule. I'm not sure, I will check. That's a spontaneous decision. She will have packed the suitcases by the time you return. By a particular time in the future, the action will have been completed. A car will be waiting for you there when you arrive tomorrow. A car will be waiting. So at that particular moment, when you arrive tomorrow, the car will be there. It will be waiting. And number 10, I suppose I will have more time for myself with this new job. I suppose so. That's my prediction about the future, but I'm not sure, of course, so the future simple is used. Let's sum up everything that we have learned in this series of lessons about the 12 grammatical tenses of English. So we have 3 tenses and 4 aspects, which together bring us 12 grammatical tenses. The 4 aspects are simple, progressive, perfect, and perfect progressive. Thus, we have the past simple, the present simple, the future simple, the past progressive, the present progressive, the future progressive, the past perfect, the present perfect, and the future perfect, and the past perfect progressive, the present perfect progressive, and the future perfect progressive. Here they are, our 12 grammatical tenses. In simple tenses, we use verbs in their first or second form. In progressive tenses, we use be as an auxiliary verb and the ending ing that we add to the main verb. In perfect tenses, we have as an auxiliary verb and we use the third form of the verb, which is a past participle. And in perfect progressive tenses, we use have been and the main verb has the ending ing. In simple tenses, that will be I ate, I eat, I will eat. In progressive, I was eating, I am eating, I will be eating. In perfect, I had eaten, I have eaten, I will have eaten. And in perfect progressive, I had been eating, I have been eating, and I will have been eating. I hope with everything that I have said in these videos and with this slide, I managed to demonstrate you that the English language has a very logical and structured system of grammatical tenses. Please spend some time, look at it attentively. Trace the paradigm. There aren't many things to memorize or to learn by heart. Actually, the only thing that you have to drill is the table of the irregular verbs. The rest is pretty simple. This was the last part on the 12 grammatical tenses of English. I'll record a short video exercise for next time so we can do it together and check how well we know, how well we remember all of the 12 tenses. Don't hesitate to subscribe to this channel if you want to watch more videos on the English grammar, as that's what we are talking about here. And see you in the next lesson.